So there was this guy named Ju In-gong. People like to make fun of his name because it literally meant protagonist in Korean. Well, that was funny, but In-gong was not about to let that stop him. He always said he was going to be the main character of his own life, no matter what anyone thought. On this special day, he was super excited. The new version of his favorite game, Night Saga, had just hit the store. He really loved this game. It was all about humans and demons fighting each other, and players could choose either Locke, the human hero, or Prince Zephyr, the first demon prince, then go on wild quests. The awesome part? This new version was the first VR release. In-gong had played the PC version when he was a kid, so he felt totally ready for this new VR experience. He thought he knew every trick inside the game, so he would be OP. As soon as he got home, he didn't waste any time. Nope, not even a snack break. He jumped straight into the game, telling himself he would not play more than 8 hours. Bro tried hard also to touch the grass when being a gamer, right? But then, things got really strange. Instead of waking up in a game bed like usual, at the respawn point, he opened his eyes and realized there was something very odd about his character. Where the fuck is this? Right away, an ogre came into his tent and, dude, that gave our MC a big excitement. This game felt way too real. On top of that, this ogre could actually talk to him, which was not part of any ad he had seen. Why is the character AI this good? In-gong then asked the ogre's name. Yet the ogre wondered if our protagonist had forgotten his name. In-gong replied, yes, and found out the ogre was called Karak. Karak looked at him kind of funny, and wondered why his prince didn't remember his own servant. Then Karak left, reminding him that everyone was waiting outside and calling him Prince Shutra. At that moment, things clicked. Shutra? Huh, In-gong knew that name. So, he was the 9th prince of the demon world now. Alright, mystery solved, sort of. But he was super confused, because the game did not let him choose this weak character. Never mind, he opened up his status window to check his stats. What he saw made his jaw drop, bro. His stats were lower than a random NPC. Even though he was a prince. What horrible luck. Next, he checked his skills. He only had 2, Conquest and Protagonist Setting Adjustment. What the fuck is Protagonist Setting Adjustment, lol? Thank God our MC was pretty smart. He kind of guessed what the second skill did, but before he could figure it out, Karak came back to call him outside. Outside, there were rows of ogres standing at attention, like a little army. In-gong, which now I will call Shutra, saw this and wondered if there was about to be a war. Karak rolled his eyes and told him not to act weird. They just needed to go, because there was a battle coming with the Scarlet Lightning tribe. Whoa, wait, right away? A war? No tutorial or anything? That was not cool. He thought this game was pretty intense. Then, Shutra learned that his job was to support the 7th prince and 8th princess in their fight against the Scarlet Lightning ogres, who were starting an uprising. But when he looked around, he noticed he had only 10 soldiers on his side. Shutra said out loud that it was scary to fight with just a few people, but Karak thought it was weird because yesterday, his prince had said it was only a patrol mission. Trying not to panic, Shutra opened his minimap and saw a shortcut. He told Karak to follow him, even if Karak was stressed about skipping the main path. So, they walked through the woods and climbed a cliff. Man, that was exhausting for Shutra as his stat was weak as hell. Karak stared in shock when they found a strange gate at the top. Cool shortcut, but dang. Shutra was really tired, and Karak started to worry. Suddenly, golden light wrapped around Shutra, and a notification popped up. He had leveled up. What? Just from walking? Not only did he level up, but his stats even got better. He got 2 points added automatically and 2 extra to use as he wanted. Sweet. So he could get experience points for everything he does, not only through fighting. Yet his troops yelled for him to keep moving. Shutra took a deep breath, wondering if this place was safe. In the end, he walked into the gate because, hey, he wasn't alone, and he trusted his plot armor skill, the protagonist setting adjustment thing. Inside, they found a cave. Karak looked at it and said it must have been built by dwarves. There was a rumor that all the dwarves had left Demon Land long ago. As they moved ahead, treasure suddenly sparkled in the darkness. The ogres got super excited and started looting, thinking these treasures were left behind by dwarves. Shutra looked around, hoping to find something useful for himself, but no luck there. All the items were way above his level or didn't match his magic skills. Some were even too heavy to lift. Bummer. So, he tried something else. Maybe he could take all of this and sell it later. So, he checked for inventory skill. Nice, he had one. All he had to do was touch an item and think about it, and boom, it went straight into his storage. Handy, right? But then, he saw on his map that the Scarlet Lightning tribe was coming straight at them. He shouted to everyone to be careful. The next thing you know, the wall exploded, and the Scarlet Lightning Gang rushed in, led by their boss, Kei-chen. Man, these red ogres looked angry. Battle broke out instantly between the green and red ogres while Shutra stood there, lost. What could he even do? He was just a weak prince character. He decided to get brave and take down a few enemies to score some experience points, but it didn't go as planned. He slashed at a red ogre, but his sword snapped off that tough ogre skin. The red ogre turned to attack him, so Shutra bolted, tripped over a rock, and slammed into the ground. Dude, his HP dropped down to just 1 point. Right when the red ogre was about to smash him, Carrick jumped in, took out the enemy, and dragged Shutra away, telling him to run. Our MC was really shaken up. He thought, that's enough for today, time to log out. But when he opened the main menu, guess what? The buttons were missing. Even worse, there was no option to log out. That meant one thing, he was totally stuck inside the game. Crap! Before he could even process that, Kei-chen stepped up and blasted him with telekinetic magic. Shutra didn't want to die here, but the power drained him so bad that his eyes got heavy and his HP hit 0. Game over? Maybe not. He opened his eyes and found himself floating in a strange void. For a second, he thought he was done for. But, out of nowhere, a bright light shined on him and a woman appeared. She told him that he was the fated one who had come and gave him some cryptic advice. Conquer, enslave, and rule. Before he could even ask more, a beam of light struck him. And then he was back, alive, right in the middle of the battlefield. All around him, the green and red ogres fought like crazy. Kei-chan thought the green ogres were idiots for showing up with such a weak crew. He ordered his goons to wipe them out. Then, he spotted Shutra glowing with golden light. A message appeared, telling Shutra that he had just awakened the power of telekinesis. He had no idea how he got this new skill, but when he checked, he saw it was part of his Knight of Conquest skill set. Seeing a prince that died literally 1 second ago, abruptly alive again, Kei-chan didn't care and yelled for his tribe to go after Shutra. Thankfully, the green ogres rushed to protect their prince, forming a circle. Meanwhile, Shutra stared at all the pop-ups on his screen. He still didn't really understand the Knight of Conquest subclass, but it suddenly made sense to him, like his body already knew how to use it. He focused and activated his Under the King's Banner skill. This gave every ally around him a huge power boost, just in time for the next round of chaos. So, after Shutra fired up his big skill, every green ogre suddenly felt like a superhero. They were buzzing with power, like actually glowing up on the spot. The green ogres went wild and charged the enemy with full force, just wiping the red ogres out. Easy win, dude. Kei-chen watched this happen and just could not believe how strong the green ogres became so suddenly. He figured out the source in seconds. It had to be Shutra doing some funky, weird magic from the back. Kei-chan tossed a spell at him fast, but Carrick jumped right in and blocked it. Shutra used his power skill again, making Carrick even stronger, and told him to handle it. Carrick did not mess around. He cut Kei-chan's neck in one slick move. That was that. The leader was down, so the Crimson Lightning Ogres freaked out and started to run away after their boss dead. But there was no escape for them. The chase was on. As the battle wrapped up, Shutra just stared as a streak of level-up notifications lit up his view. That shocked him. Meanwhile, Carrick checked his boss and thought it was fishy. Maybe Shutra was behind all this sudden strength. But how? He never knew the last prince had some cool skill like this. With the excitement over, things cooled down. The ogres settled back in their tents for some rest. Back in his own tent, Shutra was still frustrated. No logout button, no way home. He tried not to panic, thinking maybe it was just a game bug that needed a quick patch. But then, a darker thought crept in. What if this wasn't a game? What if this was for real? Oof, that was heavy. He looked around and realized that everything, from the way the NPCs talked to the uncensored stuff he noticed, felt super real. Just like characters who wake up in other worlds. He thought this was like a pretty famous isekai story from Manhwa. He once saw the same kind of story from a YouTube recap channel. At least he wasn't born as a complete monster, right? Being a prince sounded way better than being a green blob or slime. But hey, maybe Shutra didn't know about Rimuru Tempest. Suddenly, Carrick called him out for a sparring match. Shutra had no clue why, but Carrick explained that he needed to measure his prince's sword skills. Shutra tried to act all princely, teasing Carrick for speaking so casually. But when it was time to swing swords, bro, Shutra could not land a single solid hit. Carrick totally schooled him, knocking him off balance in one strike. When Carrick asked if he was okay, Shutra grumbled, saying this stupid ogre should not have attacked so suddenly. Just then, a surprise. Shutra got a new skill notification for basic swordsmanship. At first, he didn't get it. How did he learn this? Then he suddenly remembered. When Kai-chan attacked him with telekinesis, he somehow picked up that skill. Maybe, just maybe, getting hit with stuff in this world let him copy those skills for himself. That was wicked convenient. So, Gluttony's skill, but with getting slapped with the attack first? That's pretty new. Anyway, Carrick was ready to end the spar, but Shutra stopped him. He jumped back in, saying he was just starting, and dang, suddenly, he was fighting way better than before. Carrick noticed the fast improvement and got a little suspicious. Shutra suddenly switched topics and asked what level Carrick was at. Carrick said he was at level 21, so our MC checked his own. Only level 7. Not cool, but he hoped to catch up. A neat trick was that he could see his stats and skills anytime, while others needed a special spell or come to a wizard to check. That gave Shutra a huge cheater bonus. He could check his stats anytime. Watching Carrick, Shutra got serious again. He didn't just want to be strong, he wanted to grow faster than anyone else. He remembered that the demon arc of Night Saga was brutal. The first prince, Zephyr, was destined to kill all his siblings, including poor Shutra, in the year 517 during the Demon Succession War. The current year, 512, he could see the time in his status windows. He had 5 years to turn the tables or things were going to get real messy. Now, he was sitting alone, thinking about his future plans, but his planning was cut short when Carrick called him to a meeting. Shutra had no idea what Carrick was talking about but followed him inside a tent. Turns out, it was a family meeting with his siblings. Inside, there are 7th princes and 8th princesses. The 7th prince was Chris, and the 8th princess was Caitlin. Chris told Shutra not to be shy. They were siblings, after all. Caitlin said it was their first meeting, so being awkward was normal. Chris also said he could just call them by their names. Seeing them for the first time, Shutra actually remembered that both siblings could be trouble in the game. Both of them and their mom, Queen Elaine, got killed by Zephyr right before the big massacre. Especially Caitlin, because she was the king's illegitimate kid. Suddenly, Caitlin asked why he fought red ogres instead of just patrolling. Shutra explained the fight was unexpected. Then Caitlin got worried, asking if he was okay. Since everyone knew that Shutra was, well, the weakest child of the Demon King, Shutra thought it was weird that his siblings, and especially demon siblings, were being this nice. Chris told him to be careful, or Caitlin would yell at him. For real, Shutra had never expected this level of kindness. That gave him an idea. He thought both his siblings should be aura users as lycanthropes, so he shamelessly asked for a favor, requesting Caitlin to hit him with her aura. She looked totally shocked, like, what kind of request was that? She needed a second to process. Bro, this is super funny. Imagine meeting your brother for the first time and he wants to get kicked in the ass like some kind of masochist. I would run for sure, lol. Meanwhile, on the frontline battlefield, the ogres and the lightning tribe continued to clash. One of the fire ogres tried to attack the green ogre general, Bandal. Dude, this Bandal is so big and menacing. But Bandal just finished the guy instantly and told his soldiers he would reward whoever killed the most enemies. That battle raged on. Suddenly, Shutra found himself back in the weird void. That same mysterious woman stood before him. He also saw several other strange people there, faces he didn't recognize from the game. No matter how I see it, they were some kind of god, right? Suddenly, Shutra could feel the light engulf him. Then, boom, he woke up in his own bed, with Carrick's face right next to him. Spooky. That got our boy almost passed out again. After that drama, Carrick said our protagonist got knocked out cold by Caitlin's aura attack. Good news though. Shutra could feel it and realized he had just awakened the aura skill. Now, that aura really enveloped our boy. Carrick was shocked, saying it was almost impossible. He asked if Shutra used the same trick in their last fight against the Lightning Clan. Shutra admitted it. Yes, this is how he could become stronger and stronger. Hearing that, Carrick seemed super impressed. Shutra then asked if anything big happened while he was passed out. Carrick told him that the main force had already finished the battle against the Crimson Lightning Clan. That surprised Shutra, since he thought he and his siblings were just supposed to fight a small bunch of red ogres. Carrick explained that the tribe was actually too big for their small team. When Shutra asked who led the main force, Carrick said it was General Bandal. Hearing that name, Shutra got excited. He remembered General Bandal from the game, a truly tough fighter, and actually someone he admired back when he played as Zephyr. But then reality hit. General Bandal eventually joined Zephyr's side in the year 515. Right now, Shutra knew he had a rare chance. Maybe he could recruit Bandal before Zephyr did. He even knew Bandal's favorite foods and habits from the game. The tricky part? Bandal only followed someone who beat him in a duel. Even so, Shutra made up his mind to use this knowledge to get Bandal's loyalty first. So, Now we have our first slave candidate. Later, at the Moonlight siblings camp, Shutra showed off his new beginner-level aura power. Chris was speechless. How did Shutra master aura in just one night? Shutra had a secret though. He dumped all his bonus points into aura because it boosted his physical abilities even more than telekinesis. After thinking so hard, Chris guessed it was because Shutra is Gandharva species. Welp, I thought our MC is Dark Elf. Anyway, Chris then asked Shutra if he could make a map of the underground tunnels. Shutra realized he could use his mini-map for this job, so he quickly asked for paper and pen and started drawing a detailed layout. He handed it over, and Chris was super impressed. They decided to use these secret tunnels to ambush any leftover Scarlet Lightning ogres. Most of the enemies had already been wiped out though, so it was going to be an easy cleanup. After the planning, Chris had a small favor to ask, and our boy could only wonder what it was. The next day, the favor is for Shutra to patrol with Carrick and his squad. Being the youngest, he still got all the small jobs. But Carrick seemed happy, saying it wasn't so bad since they finally had reinforcements for once. Wow. Now Shutra's ogre army was so many. He agreed, joking that it was only because of everyone's hard work and his siblings' kindness. Suddenly, he spotted his sister Caitlin sneaking behind them with her robe like she was trying to be a ninja. When he asked why he followed him, she told him to keep quiet about seeing her because she wanted to tail them secretly. Caitlin explained that she would only step in if things got really dangerous. Otherwise, she said he should handle the trouble himself since victories mean more if he earns them. Shutra thought his sister was kind of insane to be hiding in the darkness and help him when they are basically would fight to be the next Demon King, but maybe that was just how Caitlin really was. He don't know if she was stupid or just too kind. Anyway, Sarah, who seemed like Caitlin's assistant, popped up too and introduced herself. The team then moved deeper into the dwarf cave again and found a bunch of empty treasure chests. These were probably leftovers from some dwarves who had already taken all the shiny stuff for themselves. Shutra wondered out loud why even the weapons they got yesterday were tossed aside, and Karak said maybe the dwarves didn't think those weapons were worth keeping. Out of nowhere, Karak got all tense and said he felt something coming. Shutra checked his minimap and bro, there were definitely enemies headed their way. Thinking fast, he pulled out a flash spell bottle from his inventory, a special item he kept just for a moment like this. Shutra told Karak to have everyone close their eyes until he said it was safe. Karak looked confused but trusted him. The next moment, a bunch of glowing eyes appeared in the darkness, dozens of giant stone spiders. These things were not just creepy but also dangerous, since their poison could paralyze even a tough ogre. Shutra wasted no time. He tossed the flash spell at the spiders and yelled to his squad to close their eyes right before a burst of light filled the cave. The flash spell worked perfectly. These spiders lived in the dark, so the bright light left them helpless and stunned. Shutra then told everyone to attack. The ogres charged and easily wiped out the weakened spiders. But then he noticed something bigger on his map. A giant red dot, probably the boss spider. Shutra signaled Karak to follow him straight to the boss. After passing the spider army, they really found the boss spider there. Karak swung his axe at the big spider, but only managed to scratch it. Shutra realized the boss's shell was nearly invincible against normal weapons. The only way to hurt it was with fire, but he had no fire magic at all. Both of them got tense when the boss spider roared and stomped toward them. Suddenly, Caitlin, still hiding in the shadows, told Shutra to lift his sword. He did what she said and, whoa, his blade burst into flames. That was just what he needed. Caitlin asked if that was enough, and Shutra took the hint. He rushed the monster spider and sliced right through its armor with the flaming blade, destroying it in one huge hit. He even got another level up, reaching level 9. Not bad for a guy who just started fighting monsters in real life. Caitlin checked to see if he was okay, and also wanted to know what crazy trick he just pulled off. He shrugged it off, saying it was just a blessing he sometimes got. She guessed it was his Gandharva skill acting up and he went along with it, not wanting to reveal anything true about his game knowledge. He fought all kinds of monsters from the game, of course. He knew some combo to kill a mere spider. Caitlin also noticed that Shutra fought the spiders with way more skill than expected for a rookie. He just said he learned it from books, but really, he had fought these monsters a million times when playing Night Saga. Just then, Karak spotted a giant door inside the cave, so they all went over to check it out. Shutra was shocked when he recognized the markings. This was a town portal, just like he'd seen in the game. Karak asked if he knew what it was, and Shutra answered with some guesses, not wanting to look too smart. Sarah studied the patterns too, and agreed it was dwarven craft, but it needed mana to activate. Caitlin was curious where this portal would go, so Sarah suggested they look for clues. That was when Karak found a stone tablet on the wall. None of them could read the weird script, but then suddenly, Shutra just started reading it out loud. Everyone stared. He realized he could understand and speak the Dwarven language, and his system told him straight up, Dwarven language, level 1 unlocked. Even Shutra was confused about how quickly he was gaining these powers. Bro, you are MC? Just don't mind anything, and just let the writer give you another OP skill in every chapter. Anyway, Sarah pointed out more writing under the main inscription. Shutra explained that they needed to inject mana into the portal, then asked Caitlin to do it. She was surprised, but he claimed he was just bad with mana, which was a half-truth because he couldn't use magic at all. Finally, she agreed and filled the portal with her energy. Suddenly, a floating image appeared, showing Gishka Mountain's location as connected to the portal. That meant there were more tunnels, and portal number 3 was at the mountain. Finding this out, Carrick got hyped since the main enemy force was at Gishka Mountain. Shutra pointed out they now had a perfect way to ambush the Scarlet Lightning tribe. In the end, Caitlin decided that everyone should rest now and return to update Chris later. The next day, they returned to Chris. Chris was pumped about the news and gave all the credit to Shutra. Chris also insisted that his little bro deserved a reward. Shutra tried to turn him down, but Chris wasn't having it. After some thinking, Shutra made what sounded like a ridiculous request. He wanted to learn the Beast God Fist art. Hearing that, Chris was shocked because this was an S-rank secret martial art that was only supposed to be passed on in the royal family. Shutra had a reason for asking though. Weapons were still a struggle for him at his level, but a martial art like this would help. To his surprise, Chris agreed to teach him the aura techniques of the style, but not the ultra-secret moves. It's like the downgraded version. He asked Shutra if this reward was enough. Shutra was totally floored. He barely managed to say it was more than enough. Chris got all soft and asked if Shutra could call him a true brother from now on. Shutra hesitated since family was new for him, but deep down, he actually liked the idea. He shook Chris's hand, thinking maybe being brothers was a good thing. Just then, his system let him know he'd formed an alliance with the Moonlight siblings. Pretty sweet. Meanwhile, trouble was brewing. The Scarlet Lightning tribe had finished capturing a prisoner and were questioning her. It turned out the prisoner was the 6th princess, Felicia. Back at camp, Shutra checked his status screen and saw something off. Every time he leveled up, all his stats went up by 2 except his charisma, which only increased by 1. He really didn't get why. Back in his Night Saga days, looks and charisma were totally separate things. He remembered that appearance was about looking cool, but charisma was about being friendly or likable. He did not really understand why the system was doing this, but he decided not to worry about it. His stats were looking great anyway. He was almost level 10, and in the game, the heroes, like Zephyr and Locke, got awesome new powers at level 10 too. Shutra was seriously hoping he would get the same upgrade soon. Right then, Carrick showed up and told him they needed to keep moving. So Shutra stepped outside, and Carrick noticed that he seemed pretty happy. Carrick tried to ask what was up, but our boy did not say anything. He just wanted to keep his head in the mission. So, he told all his underling to start their mission. Underground, the ogres and their wolf buddies were working really hard, making the tunnels ready. Shutra and the gang stood around, watching as 2 mages checked out the big portal. Chris asked the mages what they discovered. One of them explained their guess was right. The portal led straight to the Eska River near Gishka Mountain. Well, Chris wanted to know if it was safe to use. The mage said that it was. Since dwarves built it strong as heck, both mages started up the portal together. Suddenly, a glowing gate appeared right in front of the team. Everyone was hyped. Shutra was lost in his thoughts for a second. He couldn't believe he saw the gate in real life. When he saw his team moving toward the portal, he hurried and followed, and when he stepped through, boom! He was at Gishka Mountain, right next to the Scarlet Lightning tribe's giant army. Chris looked at the enemy camp and was happy their guess was correct. He checked how many were there, and thought thousands of troops were hanging out. Chris figured, if they attacked from behind and hit the food stores, they could mess up the enemy big time. He wanted General Bandel to hit from the front to create chaos, while his team would burn all the supplies. Then, Sarah noticed there were almost no soldiers showing in the camp. Chris felt super suspicious too. Maybe the enemy was already gone. Maybe they left to fight somewhere else. Suddenly, Shutra looked something suspicious and noticed a group far away. Chris told him to use his aura vision to look closer, so Shutra did it. And, guess what? There was a whole fight happening not far away. Everyone started talking about who could be fighting the Lightning tribe. It wasn't Bandel's army, because he was not supposed to fight yet, and this battle was too small to be the big army. Then Shutra, being a total gaming nerd, spotted a girl on the other side and figured out they were dark elves. He explained to Caitlin that he could tell by the size and because they were riding Dracos. Chris noticed that the dark elves were running away really fast, probably because they lost their leader. Karak was confused about what was going on, but Shutra was thinking hard about why the Dark Elves were even there. After the fight, the squad joined up with General Bandel. Bandel was super excited about the Dwarven Portal news. Chris told Bandel that Shutra was the one who found it, but Shutra just said it was luck, even though he was actually really proud. General Bandel promised Shutra that he would get a cool reward at the Demon King's castle later. Then, Chris asked if Bandel knew more about the battle with the Dark Elves. Bandel answered that the Dark Elves suddenly showed up just by themselves. Chris wanted to know why, but Bandel only knew that the elves were sent to scout because of the war, and told everyone the big info: the Lightning Tribe had captured the Dark Elves' commander. Chris realized that was probably why the Dark Elves ran away so quickly. Shutra got super curious about the elf commander. That's when Bandel dropped a surprise. The captured leader was Felicia, the 6th princess and daughter of Queen Sylvia, so she was a princess of the Dark Elves. She had a twin brother named Sylvan, the 5th prince. Hearing those names, our boy instantly remembered something. In the game, both twins were famous for fighting within the 4th Princess Anastasia's faction, and Felicia especially disliked him. So from the start, he never thought of them as allies. He started wondering why she was here. Maybe she just wanted to become famous in the war or something. Chris then asked if the Lightning Tribe even knew who they had captured. Bandel said he was not sure. Anyway, Chris decided it was time to talk about what to do next. Bandel insisted they should try to save Felicia if there was any way. Chris said maybe they could talk it out, but Bandel was straight up. He said the only way he would talk is if the Lightning Tribe came to them first, otherwise they would not make any deal. Meanwhile, Caitlin was really pushing hard to go rescue Felicia, but Chris said going straight for the enemy camp was just way too dangerous. Caitlin did not stop. She kept reminding everyone Felicia was their sister. Chris did not give in though. He said he would not risk the whole army just for one princess. You could really feel the tension between the siblings. Caitlin was determined to help her sister, and Chris was just thinking about the mission. Shutra could totally see it and started wondering what Chris's real issue was with Felicia. Finally, they came up with a plan. General Bandel would smash the front of the enemy camp, drawing off most of the warriors. While that happened, Chris and his team would attack from behind, burn all the supplies, and try to rescue Felicia if they could. Chris reminded everyone that if things started going wrong, they had to retreat fast. There was no point losing more people. Caitlin was annoyed, but Chris was not letting up. That is his final decision as the general here. That was army life, bro. Then everyone went into action. Karak got everyone fired up for battle. On the edge of Gishka Mountain, they paused to carefully scout out the enemy base, and Chris kept his eyes glued on the camp center. Suddenly, General Bandel and his army went wild and attacked with a huge ambush. There was fire, explosions, and chaos all around. Karak asked why they were waiting, but Shutra said they had to stay cool until they saw the signal. When Bandel's group started to pull out, Chris gave the sign and their team charged. They totally shocked the enemy with a surprise attack from behind. Shutra and Caitlin reminded each other to be careful and then split up. Then, Shutra got out his map and led his part of the team straight for the food storage. Along the way, the crew had to fight off any enemies who got close. It was getting tense, and at one point a red orc tried to sneak up on Karak, but Shutra threw a dagger right at the orc, saving his buddy. Karak was super impressed, asking how Shutra suddenly got so good with daggers. Shutra didn't say much, just told him to keep moving. The secret? He had learned the dagger throwing skill by accident the night before. He decided one skill more is needed. He don't want to die like a stupid character here after all. Finally, they reached the supply warehouse and got ready to burn everything. But then, Shutra stopped to think, what if Felicia was inside? If they started the fire, she might be toast by accident. He told Karak to wait. They had to check first. Karak complained that finding one person would take ages, but Shutra pulled out his secret weapon, the mini-map from the game. He opened it and looked for Felicia, who should show up as a special mark since she was a neutral NPC. Bro, talk about a gamer using his game skills in real life. It was insane. After using his mini-map, our boy finally spotted Felicia's unique icon. Dude was pumped. He told Karak to follow him, and together, they dashed into one of the enemy camps. Looking around, he found Felicia tied up. She recognized him right away and wanted to know what the heck he was doing there. But Shutra was not wasting any time. He started untying her as fast as possible. There was no moment for chit-chat. Escape was everything. In his mind, he started plotting. He wanted Felicia to owe him one for saving her. Maybe a debt like that would be useful in the future, right? Once they made it outside, Shutra pushed Felicia to hurry up. He said they needed to regroup with the Moonlight siblings. Felicia was totally shocked. She could not believe that both of her siblings came to help her. Yet Shutra did not get why she was so dramatic about it. She started talking about the crazy power games inside the royal family. Isn't they and all the siblings need to fight to be a demon king? But why did he help her now, when he could let her die and kick one of the demon king candidates? But before she could finish, Carrick freaked out. Enemies were coming in fast. Shutra called out Felicia's name to warn her. For a second, she did what he asked, but then she stopped, confused that he used her real name. Before she could question it, she spotted an incoming attack and warned him. Suddenly, a fire blast smacked into Shutra, making him shout in pain. Both Carrick and Felicia stood frozen as the flames went right over him. But then, get this, the fire bounced back at the attacker, and it was Shutra who did it. Both of them stared like he was some kind of superhero. Turns out, he just unlocked mana control and fire arrows, both at level 1. Dude was loving it. He did not hesitate. He fired his new flaming arrows right at the enemy and hit them straight up. Even at level 1, the fire arrows were deadly, easily dropping another enemy. Shutra felt epic. He finally had some serious magic skills, but there was no rest. Suddenly, another attack came from behind, a cold one this time. An ice arrow zipped through the air, but it was not aimed at him. Instead, Felicia became the target. She stepped up, looking worried for him. She won't let Shutra get hit again after the fire earlier. But our boy stopped her. In this crazy-ass MC mind, he really wanted to get hit by an ice attack, hoping he could unlock that skill too. He braced himself, and sure enough, the next ice arrow struck him. Instantly, he unlocked level 1 ice arrow. Bro, he was racking up skills like a boss. But then, the hype faded fast. A wave of exhaustion hit him hard. He checked his stats and saw only 13 HP left. Crap, one more hit and he would totally be toast. He cursed at himself for being reckless. No matter what skill he got, or how OP it is, if he died, everything gonna end. Meanwhile, Felicia looked at him and gave him attitude for shielding her. She called him the weakest among their siblings and said he was the one who needed saving. Bro, she totally misunderstood our boy. By pushing her away, she thought he was playing the hero. She then asked the real question. How bro suddenly know magic and learn it? Before he could answer that, Shutra spotted the enemy who attacked him with this ice attack had already died because of Felicia. Dude, this girl is no joke. Then Felicia pulled the ice arrow straight out of him and started healing his wound, just like a pro. At that moment, Shutra got notified he could now use level 1 healing magic. Shit. And now he could also have healing magic? Yeah. He would be OP as heck later in the manhwa. Imagine an MC that can get any skill and have protagonist plot armor. He could solo Naruto for real. Back to story. As Shutra watched the wound close, he thought his sister was actually a genius at magic. She asked if he felt better, and he told her he did. He also noticed her healing power was giving him more HP, filling his HP bar, which made her super confused. What the hell is this stupid brother saying? Before they could talk, a blood ogre slammed into the scene like a truck. Felicia was totally shocked, because she had never seen this type of monster in her life. Shutra calmly explained it was a mutated kind, way more dangerous than the regular ones. She could not believe they had to get past something so beastly. Yeah, he agreed, looking grim. When the ogre charged at them, neither dared to fight it head-on. They just turned and sprinted. No matter how they see it, this monster is too strong for them. But the blood ogre was way too fast, even though it was huge. Felicia came up with a plan. She said Shutra needed to distract the ogre, buying her time to cast a big spell. Shutra had no clue how to act as a decoy, but hey, he had to do something. When the ground exploded at the ogre's feet, Shutra got desperate and decided to aggro the beast. Felicia did not understand what the hell aggro is, but Carrick was all in. Shutra grabbed a dwarven dagger from his bag and stabbed it into the ground, using his King's Banner skill to boost Carrick's strength. The ogre charged Carrick, but Carrick took the hit and smashed the beast's chest, shoving it back hard. At the same time, Felicia cast a slick grease spell, making the ogre slip and crash to the floor. Carrick jumped up and slammed down onto the monster's chest, finally taking it out. Shutra was beyond relieved. They just beat one of the nastiest enemies around. That's when golden light suddenly surrounded him. He checked his status window and nearly fainted. He finally hit level 10. Even better, his main skill, Protagonist Setting Adjustment, went up to level 2. That unlocked a new passive, Battlefield Protection, which meant enemy long-range attacks would be less accurate against him. Basically, bro, maybe you wondered how the fuck a protagonist can dodge all the bullets shot at them? That's the skill Shutra got. This brat got a skill that lets him be slippery against long-range attacks. It was like having full-on main character plot armor. Our boy was super pumped. Anyway, Felicia shouted for his attention just as a wave of enemies charged their way. She pulled out all the stops, casting Wind Whirl and Rage. This created a mini tornado wrecking the enemy squads. But as Shutra watched her closely, he realized what she was doing was not a spell. It was actually spirit summoning. Dark elves were famous for being in tune with magic, and Felicia was a total spirit summoner. Shutra watched with envy. He really wished he could get that skill too. While all this was going down, a yellow flare shot up in the sky, signaling everyone to retreat. This is highly suspicious. The flare comes from Caitlyn's position. Not wanting to take chances, our boy decided to help Caitlyn, so he told Carrick to pull the team back, and he went toward Caitlyn. Yet, suddenly Felicia said she wanted to help him for saving her life before. To her, she is not the one who could be helped and not helping back. Give and take is her idealism. So, in the end, Felicia is tagging along behind. As they hurried to find Caitlyn, Felicia asked why he really wanted to help Caitlyn. Shutra told Felicia he was just being a good brother, but the real reason was that he was trying to keep his own alliance strong. After all, he needs their siblings' power to be a demon king himself. When they found Caitlyn, she was still in the middle of kicking butt, smacking ogres around with her fists and blasting them with fire. But two of the ogres broke through and attacked her together. She kept her cool, knocked them away with magic, and then realized Shutra and Felicia were there. Felicia just laughed. As Shutra can see, his dear sister won't need any help. That girl is annoyingly strong after all. Suddenly, Caitlyn ran over and gave Felicia a huge hug. She was stoked her sister was safe. But there was no time to celebrate, because looking at the map, Shutra saw that more enemies were coming back from the front line. So he took charge, telling them how to escape while the girls covered their backs. They all hurried through the portal together. Once inside, Caitlyn told Shutra she was amazed by how mature and smart he had become. But Felicia isn't easily convinced. She was wondering how her weak brother suddenly became this smart and strong. Suddenly, Chris showed up just then, noticing their return. Felicia tried to greet him, but he was cold with her. Chris explained that the Scarlet Lightning tribe's boss bailed out after seeing his camp go up in flames, so Bandle got the win. But because the enemy still had a chief around, Chris announced they would attack Kiram's army, the force led by Kai-chan's big brother, before the Lightning tribe could join up with them. So, after Chris made his big announcement, Shutra turned to Felicia and asked why she was even there in the first place. Felicia explained that she was researching the ruins when she heard about the battle, so she rushed over to help but got captured before she could do anything helpful. But Chris doesn't seem to trust her words easily. He asked if that was the real reason, and Felicia said, "Of course it is." The siblings locked eyes with an intense gaze until Chris finally nodded and left. He asked everyone to rest from this long day. Bro, there must be something shady that happened between these two siblings. While the orc started cooking up a big meal, Shutra took a moment to check out his own skills. He felt pretty satisfied. Honestly, his list kept growing longer, and things were looking up. But suddenly, the sixth princess, Felicia, walked in and, out of nowhere, grabbed him by his clothes and yanked him closer. He stared at her in shock when she kept demanding that he take off his clothes. Talk about panic mode. But when he asked her why, the explanation was a lot less crazy than he feared. She just wanted to do a proper healing job. Earlier, it had been just a quick fix, but now she wanted to heal his injuries for real, inside and out. As she did her healing magic on him, Shutra decided to ask for a special favor, something only she could do. Well, I wonder what it is, lol. In the end, she agreed. When it was all done and she left, Shutra was pumped. He had learned not just one, but 3 healing spells, all thanks to Felicia's magic, like Cure, Poison Cure, and Disease Cure. This guy was becoming a walking toolbox of skills. But there was no time to chill because it was now time for him to learn a brand new martial art, the Beast Fist art of the werewolves, a special power used by the lycanthropes. This was a pretty big deal. The werewolf style was the foundation for all the Beast Fist arts. That's why Caitlyn, the 8th princess, offered to teach him herself. She explained that Beast Fist art used 2 kinds of aura, internal and external, but today he was starting with internal aura. Shutra closed his eyes as Caitlyn instructed, and he felt the internal aura, which was kind of like touching the power of the soul itself. Before he knew it, a message popped up saying he had acquired a protagonist physique at level 1, making his training way more efficient and letting him pick up physical skills faster. 2 more skills joined his list, and a pop-up explained that when he leveled up in a skill, he would unlock special traits for it. Man, being the protagonist came with some serious perks. He realized this passive skill was on par with Zephyr the hero and Locke the Demon King's passive skill. Shutra felt lucky and excited, so he jumped right back into practice. With the new skill, he quickly learned the basic moves. Caitlin saw he was picking things up quickly and told him it was time to move on to the next move. But suddenly, a wolf ran up to her, looking super stressed. Caitlin understood right away. The wolf was warning them that Kairam's unit had disappeared. That was not good. So, the seventh prince called all 4 siblings for a quick meeting. The prince dropped some news. Kairam had figured out their plan. But General Bandol, their top guy for info, pointed at a map showing the spot where they thought Yakuzan and Kairam would meet up. The new plan became clear. They needed to team up with the general and go for an all-out battle against the Scarlet Lightning tribe. Soon, the siblings arrived at the main base of the subjugation army. Shutra saw General Bandol again and felt a weird blast of nostalgia, since in the game Bandol had always been his favorite. After some rest, Shutra had a strange dream. In it, he saw 2 women from before, one with 2 different colored eyes and the other in armor. The dream whispered about conquest and war, which totally confused him. He woke up, puzzled, and just then Karak arrived to get him moving. It was battle time, dude. On the battlefield, they got their assignments. Shutra was given the left flank. The general took the center. Chris and Caitlin led the right side, and the Dark Elves were set up for their own sneaky mission at the back. No time to space out. Suddenly, Shutra was in the middle of a huge field with thousands of orcs all around. Everyone took their positions, and then the general shouted the order to attack. The army charged at the Scarlet Lightning tribe, but it turned out the enemy knew what was up. The defenders were totally ready. As the army drew close, a giant explosion suddenly rocked the field, blasting the orcs everywhere. Dude, it was total chaos. When the dust settled, the general was stunned. There was a giant swamp mammoth standing right there. And that was not the end. More explosions kept hitting, throwing even more orcs out of the way, and more swamp mammoths just kept appearing. As if that was not wild enough, tons of lizard men crawled out of the ground, proving that the tribe had known about their whole plan from the start. This was all a trap from the beginning. With everything going south fast, Caitlin suggested backing off and waiting for a better chance. Yet Chris argued that if they took the wrong choice now, everyone could get wiped out even before they fall back. Caitlin made it clear that if they stayed, it would just mean even more casualties. Sensing the danger of delaying his decision, Chris told the mages to make a defensive line at the back. Their job was to hold off the enemies so everyone else could get ready to fall back. His last word was to make sure they fight all their base so they could meet again. Back at their main base, the 7th prince admitted that he messed up. The general gave him some advice, saying they should either retreat completely or ask for backup from the Demon King's castle. Just as the prince was about to choose, Felicia jumped in with her own idea. She explained why she was actually here. She wanted to explore some old ruin at the end of the Gishka Mountains. For 1,500 years, there was a place called Enkidu, the Earth Dragon's lair. Enkidu, a magma-born dragon, protected the lair with a bunch of treasure guardians. Some of these guardians were dwarves from the mountains, and Enkidu gave them special weapons. The anvil, which could create thunder, was a relic that let people cast giant spells and control chimeras guarding treasures. Felicia said that if they wanted to win against the Scarlet Lightning tribe, they needed that anvil. The general asked her if she knew where it was. Felicia did not have a clue. The 7th prince thought it was a stupid risk, but Shutra spoke up. He thought the anvil was real because he saw something like it in the game when he was playing as Locke. So he tried his best to convince everyone, stating he found stories about it while learning Dwarven runes. Shutra basically said he trusted Felicia and wanted to try her plan. Chris totally disagreed, but Shutra added that his own tribe, Gandharva, believed this legend too. Since the entrance to the ruins could be close, he said he would scout the area himself and take the blame if things went wrong. He really wanted to go all out and prove himself. With Felicia's magic horses, the siblings and Carrick set off. Shutra guessed it would only take 1 hour to reach the ruins because of his mini-map, but he worried about looking suspicious. Not knowing what else to say, he lied about tunnel maps being consistent. If he mixed the area's land with the tunnel's style, he claimed he could find the anvil's spot. Everyone looked a bit confused, but Felicia pretended it made sense and asked him to lead anyway. Soon, they got to a blocked entrance. Shutra asked the 8th princess to smash it. Felicia doubted the spot, but Shutra insisted it was legit and said there wouldn't be dungeon guardians this way. He also reminded her that Caitlin couldn't break through, so it had to be her. The 6th princess used her awesome destruction skills to bust it open. Rocks crashed down, and the path was clear. Inside, they saw a half-dome surrounded by pillars. They walked over, hoping the anvil was inside the dome, and then tried to figure out how to open it. Felicia spotted 9 statues around the dome, but only 3 held weapons. They figured out they needed to give the rest dwarven weapons. Good thing Shutra picked up 6 dwarven swords during his last tunnel crawl. They handed swords to the statues. Then the half-dome lit up and slowly started to open. The squad was hyped. When the half-dome was fully open, they all stared, eyes wide, at the legendary anvil that made thunder. Everyone was shocked. The 6th princess got straight to business. She told everyone that based on legends, there was a last procedure. So she asked Shutra and Karak to stay put, and had the others stand at positions like 3, 6, and 9 on a clock. She explained they needed to push magic energy into the disc, starting with her and moving clockwise, each one stronger than the last. Once everyone was in position, they sent their magic into the anvil. Boom! A huge flash shot up, and Shutra closed his eyes from the brightness. When he opened them, he was somewhere crazy, surrounded by tons of guys and monsters. He heard a rough, booming voice, and saw a terrifying dragon flying above. The voice told them to protect the dragon's nest and be the gatekeeper between the demon and human worlds. Tense, right? Then Shutra snapped awake, flat on the ground. He realized the dragon was Black Kedu, and everyone else saw the same vision. No one really got what it meant, but Felicia figured the anvil would reveal the truth. But when Felicia touched it, purple energy blasted out and hit her. Shutra tried to help and got zapped too. They were told to beat the Earth Dragon in Enkitu's mana, facing a test for those without permission. And as always, our boy got his plot armor, and after a while, the energy died down and the anvil shrank into a cool hammer. Shutra looked and saw he now had one black eye, holding the hammer. Whoa, dude. This little dude kinda aura farming. Meanwhile, things got crazy at the main base. The Scarlet Lightning tribe found them, and their boss Yakuzan ordered an attack. Their monsters and fireballs blew everything up. Chris freaked out because the others were still in the mountains, and he was almost out of options. Up on the mountain, Yakuzan watched the camp get wrecked and laughed. He tried to cast spells, but suddenly his hand stopped moving. One of their huge mammoths turned purple and spun around, attacking the tribe. Yakuzan freaked out. What the hell is happening right now when their win was in front of their eyes? Chris thought maybe his sibling actually found the anvil. Back in the mountains, Shutra finally stood up with the thunder hammer in his hand. Felicia said it looked like Enkidu picked him. Since the dragon's mana taught Shutra to use the hammer and make monsters obey, he decided to control the swamp mammoths first. He smashed the hammer on the half-dome, and just like that, all the mammoths at the base attacked the Scarlet Lightning tribe. Looking at the mammoth, Bandel finally realized the siblings had pulled off their wild plan, so he shouted for the orcs to go crush the enemy now. The orcs attacked the lizard men and ogres. The enemy chief just stood there, looking totally lost. His buddy told him they should retreat and try again later. But before they could escape, the 7th prince showed up. He offered the chief a chance to surrender, but the guy went for a sneak attack. Too bad for him, the prince used his beast god fist and knocked the chief out with just one punch. That made the rest of the Scarlet Lightning guys lose it and run away. Chris was left there, still worried about where Shutra and the princesses were. After the big battle, Karak and the rest of the team just stood there, totally blown away, watching their new swamp mammoth buddies stomp the last of the enemy stragglers. It was like having a dozen tanks on your side. The 6th princess decided to explain a bit more about how awesome the anvil was, but as she started, she suddenly lost her balance. Luckily, Sarah caught her in time and told her she needed some rest. Everyone agreed to head back, but then they noticed something super weird. Shutra was missing. So, after all the chaos was over, nobody could find him. Meanwhile, Shutra was busy leveling up big time because he had just controlled the great relic of Enkidu. His levels shot up like crazy, and a pop-up told him that his conquest level had gone up a lot too. He was pumped, bro. His main skills were way better now. While he was checking out his new skills, Caitlin showed up and gave him a smack on the head for running off without telling anyone. She yelled at him for a bit and let him know that everyone would have to sleep in the mountains tonight, since Felicia passed out and they had no way to call the magic horses. After the two got back to the main hall, Caitlin explained everything that happened while some team members helped heal the 6th princess. Since Felicia was the only one who could summon the phantom steed and she was still knocked out, everyone settled in for a night of camping and taking care of her. Later, while everyone was chilling, Shutra started thinking about how he felt zero tired, probably because of all his new level-ups. That was pretty sweet. But then he had another thought. Since they were inside a ruin, there had to be hidden loot somewhere. He figured that with the crazy power of the anvil, nothing could touch him now, not even the toughest dungeon traps or guardians. He grabbed the orc head and decided to start searching for treasure. Adventure time, dude? They wandered through the ruin, opened a door, and found, wait for it, a massive monster, the Arc Golem, lying there in griffin shape. They looked at it and slowly backed out of the room, not making a sound. No need to poke a sleeping beast, right? Luckily, in another room, they found a chamber loaded with treasure and weapons. Karak tried on a piece of armor, and Shutra felt a bit of magic in it. Turns out, it was magic armor. Shutra told Karak to keep it for himself. Then they grabbed all the useful stuff, piling it into Shutra's inventory system like some kind of loot goblin. Suddenly, Shutra noticed a closed chest in the corner. When he opened it, a secret door appeared in the wall. Now this was getting exciting. He slipped into the hidden room by himself and found a strange chamber with a purple fire in the center. Someone started calling to him from the fire. With a quick scan of the mana, Shutra realized it was Enkitu's voice. Yeah, the Earth Dragon. Floating inside that purple energy was Enkitu's gauntlet, called Earthshaker. Shutra's eyes lit up. He walked right up to grab the gauntlet, but apparently, he was supposed to be a lot stronger first before touching it. Still, Enkitu gave him the green light anyway and accepted him as the new master for the gauntlet. When the gauntlet zipped onto his hand, a big shock hit him, and then boom. His strength, magic, and stamina all went through the roof. He was feeling like an absolute boss. Bro got more OP in every minute. Damn. Karak then popped in to check on him. So Shutra quickly hid the gauntlet in his inventory. Karak said he had seen everything, which made Shutra sweat a little. He didn't want anyone learning about his secret abilities. But Karak promised to keep his mouth shut. He said they should bounce. Because, let's face it, the place was kind of spooky. Wow, Karak is so an underling's material. On their way out, Shutra spotted something that would help the sixth princess. So they grabbed that too. When they got back to the others, Shutra gave Felicia a magic recovery potion he found inside the ruin, helping her wake up. Felicia wanted to know what happened, and the eighth princess explained how Shutra found the potion. Shutra played it cool and showed off a bit, reminding everyone that he was now basically the ruler of the ruins. He told Felicia to just chill and get her magic energy back. Soon, everyone returned to the main base, totally wiped but feeling like champs. Bandel congratulated them for a job well done. Just then, the seventh prince came over from the other camp and finally gave Felicia some real praise for her great work. He told everyone to rest up. They still had to deal with the leftover Scarlet Lightning guys in about 2 weeks. Hearing that, Shutra joked that it was like a 2-week vacation, but Caitlin totally disagreed. She whispered something to him and then announced he had some business with her. What was that business? Well, it was serious training. Caitlin put Shutra through intense beast fist training, and honestly, for the first 5 days, she just wiped the floor with him. Shutra was always tired and sore, but after a week, he started figuring out her moves. By the 11th day, Shutra was finally showing some real skills. His beast fist moves and aura reached level 5. Now that's progress, dude! So, after all that hardcore training, Caitlin finally told Shutra that he could start learning the real beast fist, not just the simple stuff. Shutra got so hyped, this was what he'd been waiting for, dude. But Caitlin had more up her sleeve. She said she would teach him a new way to use aura. She told him to focus. And then, she interlocked her fingers with his. Using her mana, she created a field of aura that Shutra could totally feel. It was kind of like the beast fist, but this aura had its own vibe. The princess's aura helped guide him, and she explained that aura is life's power. When aura gets super strong, it turns into the power of the soul, and can even control the force that makes things submit or obey. Soon, their combo aura reached a next-level point, and Shutra's beast fist and aura powered way up. He got a new skill called Beast Lord Fist. That's insanely OP. Now, he was level 14. He thought that if he used this fist skill with the gauntlet, the damage from it would be able to even knock down a strong monster. But hey, little did he know, the general was secretly watching them from behind a tree. Busted! He was smiling, acknowledging that the last prince was actually really strong. The next morning, Shutra went to talk to the 8th princess. He wanted to know why Chris and Felicia seemed uneasy around each other, because he needed both of them on his team. The princess told him that there was no big problem between Chris and Felicia, but apparently the 7th prince had some beef with Felicia's brother, the 5th prince. Suddenly, Shutra remembered he used to be a super annoying enemy back when he played as Zephyr in the game. Before he could ask more, Chris showed up, acting all business, and said it was time to pack up because they were leaving in the afternoon to report their work. Right before heading out, the general came over and praised them. He even said he hoped to meet Shutra again someday. Wow, new slave incoming. Then the siblings left for the demon castle together. Their trip was pretty straightforward, but still a bit tough. First, they had to walk to the nearest teleportation circle because that's how you travel fast in this world. No inns, just hardcore camping under the stars, eating who knows what for food, and sleeping on rocks. And it took 3 whole days just to find the circle. During one of those nights, Shutra sat on a stone and wrote the names of the Demon King's first 3 kids in the sand using a stick. He felt kind of nervous about going back because the Demon King's castle was split into 3 big factions. There was the second Prince Zephyr's squad, the first Prince Ball's faction, and the 4th Princess's gang. The royal rules were wild, because basically the strongest person gets priority for the throne, not whoever was born first. Shutra thought about how Zephyr and Ball were tough as nails, probably because they were both full-blooded draconians from their mom's side. If you had to choose, the eldest brother Ball was the nicer one, but on the inside, Shutra knew everything would get crazy soon anyway. So, he wanted to be ready for anything. His plan was simple. He needed to level up even more, fully master Earthshaker, and then make his new skill, King's Knights, as strong as possible. Later, as the group camped, Shutra unlocked King's Knights and started something called the Night Order. He checked out the details and got totally shocked. It wasn't just a boring summoning skill. It had buffs, night training, and yeah, even summoning. He wondered if it was some broken system. Bro, you always have a broken and super OP system and skill from the start? Why pretend to be shocked now? Anyway, Shutra got super excited thinking about how powerful it would be when it leveled up. While he was talking to himself about all this, Karak, the orc head, showed up, finally finding where Shutra was hiding. Karak scolded him for staying up so late when they had an early start, but Shutra just grinned and asked if Karak was down for an experiment. Karak thought about it and then agreed. So Shutra told him to kneel down on one knee, then put his sword on Karak's shoulder and said that he was appointing Karak as his knight. Right away, Karak felt something weird and said that his loyalty went way up. No joke, his actual level rose to 24, which made Shutra really proud. Karak noticed that he felt much stronger, but Shutra dodged the details and asked him if he wanted to become the strongest orc in the world. Karak just stood there, thinking, while Shutra quietly made a promise to turn him into the mightiest orc emperor ever, someone strong enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with the dragon race. The next morning, the whole squad reached the teleportation circle, and together they stepped inside. The circle glowed and sent a blast of energy shooting up into the sky. The next thing they knew, they all landed inside the demon castle. Caitlin checked to see if Shutra was alright, and he said he was good. At that moment, a big group of girls rushed over, calling Felicia's name, saying they'd been waiting for her forever. These women started complimenting the 6th princess, and treated her with a lot of respect. Shutra just stared, thinking it was like she had her own idol fan club or something. He asked Karak if those women were Felicia's attendants or soldiers. Meanwhile, Chris and Caitlin also met with a group of people, including some werewolves, who greeted them respectfully. Shutra couldn't help but feel a little left out, like he was the only guy without his own crew. Then 2 elven girls whispered about him as he walked past, and he realized it was because of his sketchy reputation back at the Demon King's castle. But guess what? Shutra didn't let it bother him. He asked Karak if he was ready to change things a little at a time from now on. Because bro, that's what heroes do, you show up, level up, and shake up the world step by step. But the road of our protagonist is not always good. Now, Shutra finally sees his own room in the castle. The place was a total mess. The room had been empty for a long time, and dust and spiderwebs were everywhere. Karak, who definitely was not impressed with the place, waved his hands around to show just how sad this room looked. Shutra just sat there. He said that at least they had a room, so that was something to be happy about. Suddenly, Karak reminded Shutra that the big official event would only start tomorrow. Until then, they could do whatever they wanted for free time. Nice, right? Well, not really. Shutra thought that free time in this dusty space was not fun. He even thought it felt like being left somewhere to rot. Yeah, not a great vibe. And then, the door made a creepy sound and slowly opened. Shutra got surprised. Who did they see? It was a pink-haired elf girl. Damn. So, Gandhavi, or whatever species Shutra identified as, is really an elf tribe? Anyway, she introduced herself as Flora Sevensword, and she worked for the Demon King's Castle Real Estate Management Bureau. Shutra was surprised that someone from such an important office would come to a place like this. But Flora told him that because his public merit level went up, he could now choose a new place to live. That was insane! Shutra's eyes got really big. This was a big deal, bro. So, suddenly, Shutra was at the Office of Public Merits. There was another elf, Isabella, who looked super serious with her glasses and hair in a bun. She told Shutra that yes, it was true. He could get a new place to live because of all the cool things he did. Isabella even made a magic screen show all of Shutra's achievements: beating evil tribes, saving a princess, finding special artifacts, and some other crazy stuff. Dude really did a lot. Isabella said that Shutra got a major glow-up. He now had access to more cool stuff in Demon King's castle. His monthly money went up from 5 gold to 500 gold. Bro, that's a lot. And even crazier, he was the first prince to do all that on his first mission. Shutra just laughed and wanted to see his new houses right away. Next, Karak almost lost his mind. He saw Shutra's new mansion and stared at it with his jaw on the floor. The place was huge and flashy, with golden gates. Shutra just stood there looking super chill. Inside, Flora was dressed as a maid and greeted them politely. Karak was so confused. He said that Flora was from real estate, so why was she a maid now? Well, Shutra explained, kinda smug, honestly, that he used his merit points like cash and hired Flora as his butler and head maid. Karak muttered that Shutra was talking a lot of nonsense, but hey, that's how things worked around here. Crazy, right? The next day, the mansion was busy. Karak, now looking fancy in a suit, felt super awkward. He kept saying he needed to pee because his nerves were crazy. Shutra was not happy to hear that and told Karak to go, because talking about pee was making him even more nervous. Shutra was sipping from his glass, trying to stay calm. Then, Caitlin's voice came. She said that Shutra and Karak looked amazing. Shutra turned and saw Caitlin in a dark dress, and Felicia in a cool white dress. Caitlin asked who picked their outfits, and Shutra had to admit that Felicia really did a great job. Felicia suddenly acted all proud about it. Caitlin then reminded everyone that this was Shutra's first audience ceremony. Suddenly, Chris, with his wild, lion-like hair, put his hand on Shutra's shoulder. Chris told him that today he was the main character and should show his face to the whole Demon King's castle. Hearing that, Shutra smiled and finally felt fired up. So the big moment started. The throne room doors opened wide and a giant crowd filled the place. All sorts of demons and folks were watching. Shutra walked in with Chris, Caitlin, and Felicia. He thought to himself that some people probably thought he just got lucky, but soon everyone would see the truth. He wasn't just some weak prince anymore. Lots of princes and princesses were kneeling by the throne. On top of the massive throne was Demon King Mitra, a dude so powerful that even just looking at him felt nuts. Then, this huge pressure came from the Demon King like an invisible weight. Shutra felt like his whole body was about to break. But then something wild happened in Shutra's head. A mysterious voice told him to conquer, to stand strong, and to beat that crazy pressure. The voice said that Shutra was also a king and could handle it. Shutra's eyes suddenly glowed gold, and he pushed back against the king's aura. Slowly, he looked at the Demon King with new power in his eyes, shocking everyone. Even Demon King Mitra looked a bit surprised. Then Demon King Mitra spoke Shutra's name and said that he wanted to see what Shutra would do next. Everyone was shocked to their bone. He then said he looked forward to the youngest prince's achievement.